Welcome back to Full Circle. Thank you so much for choosing to stay with us this morning. Do let me know where you're watching us from. Of course, I love hearing from you. The SMS line is on your screen, 111 And of course, you can get at me via the Switch TV social media handles on Facebook, Twitter, and on Instagram. So for this second hour, we have a packed show lined up for you, kicking off with our Change Makers segment. We're going to be meeting Wahu Wanjiko, who is here with me. She's going to be telling us about a wonderful program that she is running that seeks to actually help young girls who have been affected by teenage pregnancies. And also later on in the show, we're going to be talking about men and co-parenting, and also just trying to understand why most men, unfortunately, in Kenya, tend to abscond their parental duties. Plus, of course, today being Thursday, we have our cooking segment, so stick around so that you can learn how to prepare a cool meal for your family. So right now, let's jump straight into our Changemakers interview with Wahu. Wahu, karibu kwenye Full Circle.
Thank you so much.
So tell me, what's the name of your program?
The program is called God Girl equals Girl Power.
Okay, a God Girl equals Girl Power. And what does the program do?
The program empowers ladies, girls in general, from young girls to actually older girls. And it's a Christian program. So we're saying, I mean, if you have the Christian values, then you are empowered to live your full potential as a woman and as a girl.
And your area of focus is particularly teenage pregnancies.
Yeah, it's part of the program. We have 3 segments in the program, and teenage pregnancy is part of it. And I'll tell you why as we continue along.
Okay, so what are the 3 segments in the program?
We have teenagers who've not gotten pregnant, like prior, they're in school, they're doing well, that we have a program for them that empowers them, provides mentorship for them. And then we have a program that focuses on those who've already gotten pregnant, teenage moms. And then we have older ladies who are just needing sisterhood and encouragement and empowerment.
And that's a very important one.
Yeah.
Okay, so tell me what inspired you to be part of this particular program as Wahu?
As an individual, first, I'm a pastor in Nairobi Chapel. So my role as a pastor is really to empower people and to point them to Christ and to give them hope. But beyond that, I was a teenage mom myself. I am a mother of 1. I have a son who is 16 now, and I got him when I was 15. So teenage pregnancy and motherhood is something I'm passionate about because I've walked the journey. I know the challenges, and I could see the gaps of what got me to where I got to and what I could do to ensure that other girls don't get to walk that journey. And for those who are there, how do I help them navigate that process and get them to this other side?
So when you say you could see the gaps, and
Yes.
how particularly are you using your program to fill in the gaps?
Yeah, now, because of my experience, that's why I say I have 3 segments in this program. I'm first able to talk to the girls before you get to the place of pregnancy, before we even start to deal with the crisis. How can we mentor the girl and work with her to ensure that she's fully empowered and she knows what she needs to do to ensure that she doesn't get there? But also for the girls who've already gotten pregnant, how do you work? Because once you're a teenage girl, once you get pregnant, you feel like your whole life has shattered. You feel like you're lost. Parents are disillusioned. They don't know what to do. The society doesn't even know what to do with you. And just being there for the girl and saying, working with her from point 1 to 2 and 3, and ensuring that she has a mentor and she's empowered and she's given every other opportunity to ensure that she doesn't get stuck there, that she's able to bounce back to life.
So let's talk about the first part of the program, because obviously now that school is out.
Yes.
And I know a couple of months ago, and even today, the statistics are very worrying, whereby
Yes.
we are seeing that the incidences of teenage pregnancies have skyrocketed in the country.
Yeah.
And sasa tunaingia now properly the holiday season. Yeah. So perhaps how can you help parents to have some of these discussions with their children?
Yes.
Before now, unfortunately, they fall into that trap.
Yes.
So how does that discussion start?
The problem with our parenting and our family setup is that we're actually not even having the discussion to begin with. Like normal, 2020, every parent is busy trying to bring bread and butter.
Right.
And so we get too busy that we forget that our primary role as parents is actually to parent our children. And a teenager is still a child. The first step I'd say for any parent is actually to begin the conversation, to begin to talk about sexuality. A girl or a boy is transitioning into the stage of their life, to begin to talk about, okay, what are you feeling? How are you processing this adolescent stage? And just give them open space to be able to ask you questions. And that gives you an opportunity to be able to guide. It gives you an opportunity to be able to say, okay, if you walk on this route, this is what happens. And for the girls, you're able to tell them clearly what is sex, what happens if you have sex, what are the consequences, how can you protect yourself, what are the boundaries you need to put around your life to ensure that you don't get yourself in compromising situations that eventually end you up in spaces you did not want to
So
have.
basically what you're saying that parents now need to own up to teach from a place of information
Yes.
and love, but not
Yes.
necessarily fear.
Absolutely.
Because what you see most times is someone will tell you sex is bad.
Yes.
Don't play with boys.
Like in our
Full
days,
stop.
you're just told, don't have sex, it's bad, and that's it.
And don't play with boys.
I know.
Full stop.
You
So
almost feel like just hanging out with a boy, you're getting pregnant immediately, you know? But to actually open the conversation for even the teenagers to ask you questions, allow them the space to feel safe enough to tell you, because it's possible that even that teenage girl you have has already even engaged in the act already. But because of how strict our Kenyan parents can be, they're not able to tell you.
Right.
But if they told you, if you are open enough, you'd be able to now guide them. You'd be able to have that conversation a bit more, because they get information, either you're giving it to them or not. But the problem is they get the wrong information. But as a parent, you have the opportunity to give the right information and to protect your child.
right. So let's imagine
Yeah.
that I'm 16 years old.
Yes.
Let me say even 15. I'm the teenager.
Yes.
And I want to teach you parents.
Yes.
And I want to ask you guys probably, how did this conversation go in your household? Because saa zingine si ati hautaki ni ile aibu na culture.
You don't, yes.
Yes. So, and I want us to act it out, really. So that if you're a parent, use this as your manual. Yeah, you know,
Yes.
it's not enough for us to say that don't say boys are
Yes,
bad.
yes.
It's not enough for us to say that sex is bad. But how can that conversation be had? Give them the language. So here I am, 15-year-old Tamima. Hi, mom, tell me.
First,
Yes.
of course, the environment matters. I mean, you're not just waking up from, you're not coming from work
Yeah.
on a normal day and you're just like, wait, sit here, we need to talk about,
And that's
you know.
how most parents do it.
No, yeah, it doesn't work like that. I mean,
Family
take-
meeting.
Even take a girl on a date.
Yes.
Like, if you're a mother and you want to have a conversation with your
Yeah.
daughter, just say, well, let's hang out on Friday, let's hang out on Saturday. Take her for coffee or whatever.
Loosen her up.
Yes, loosen her up and
Yeah.
just ask her about herself first. Begin with, you know, allow her to tell her about you.
And her friends.
And her friends,
Yeah.
exactly. And then begin to ask, I mean, if you have friends, do you think these friends are the right friends? I mean, what do you have in common? And slowly begin to ask the question for what value do they add in your life? And then you can begin to say, you know, do you have a boyfriend? Ask that
Do
question.
your friends have boyfriends?
Exactly.
Because
Do your
sometimes
friends-
it's not us like, mommy, my boyfriend, like, you know, my
Yes.
friend's boyfriend. But really, it's them personally. Yeah.
So do your friends have boyfriend? And if they do, what do you do with your boyfriends? Why do you think you need to have a boyfriend at this point? What's the long-term plan? Allow there to be engagement. And maybe you may not do it with one day, but slowly, if you have a date today, and we have talked to this extent, the teenager begins to trust you enough. If you don't overreact, that is, because there are other parents, if the girl says, yeah, I actually have a boyfriend now, it's
Grounded.
more.
Never leaving this house.
Yes. You ensure you don't overreact, of course, and they're able to trust you enough so that the next time you're having the next level conversation, you're not just coming from nowhere. There's
Okay.
a relationship that you're building.
And you know, we focused on the girls, but I always firmly believe when it
Yes.
comes to teenage pregnancies, the boys are part of this conversation.
couldn't
Those girls
agree
are
more.
not getting pregnant by
Alone.
themselves.
I couldn't
so
agree more.
what do we say to the young boys?
I think the same conversation we're having with the girls, we're ensuring that we're having with our boys.
So fathers,
Yeah.
mothers,
Yes.
brothers,
Yes,
uncles.
absolutely. And then actually get to a place you can actually even have this conversation as a family and talk about if your sister, it happened to them and they came back pregnant. Okay, what does that mean for us as a family? What do we need to do? How would we be able to support her? Because I also feel the next crisis that happens is a girl gets pregnant and then she comes home. And when she comes home, the whole family does not know what to do with the girl. And a lot of times, what happens to the girl, she feels rejected. She feels, that's how they end up on the street. They run away from home. They do ridiculous stuff. And it's because the parents or the family had never processed what would that mean and what would we do. So it's actually an important family conversation.
And you know, they say that even as a mature woman,
Yes.
pregnancy, yes, it's a beautiful time,
Yep.
it's a beautiful process, but still, in a lot of ways, it's an outward sign of a woman's sexuality.
Yes.
So this girl A has to do with the fact that now the whole world knows I had sex.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Number two, here I am, there's this thing happening in my body that probably I'm under-equipped.
Yes.
Because even for a
Absolutely.
mature woman, pregnancy is a big deal. The physical changes, emotional changes. Yeah, and then once the baby arrives. So, and you've also touched on what the female what the female teenager goes through when
Yes.
they're pregnant. What about the boy? Because I also want to believe that not all these young boys are malicious.
Yes,
Some of them
absolutely.
just fall into the trap,
Yep.
similarly to the girls.
Yep. You see, pregnancy, a lot of times, especially for teenagers, the society assumed that this person got pregnant because they were being promiscuous or something. But a lot of times it's one thing led to another. So both the girl and the boy had not even processed it. And then it happens. First, we must remember, these are kids. I mean, they are teenagers.
I'm sure there's so many cases where for most of them, it's usually the first time they had sex. That's it.
Ask me. I told you, I am living
Right.
proof. I am living proof. And I know, like in my case, first I didn't even know that was sex that happened. I was like, first, wait, was that it? Like, you know? And then even for the boy, I mean, he must have gone through his own disillusionment and being told that you've made a girl pregnant, and he's wondering, okay, so what does that mean for me? They're not ready for this responsibility. But as a girl, because I was a girl, first you feel lost. With all these warnings that you've been given before, you feel like your life is...
Because you've fallen into the trap.
Exactly. You feel like your life is completely over, literally. You feel like there's no future. You feel like this is the end, and you don't know what to do with it because you don't even understand the concept of pregnancy in itself. You don't understand what it means to be responsible to another child. It's just a really, really difficult time. This is the most time that the parents should be able to support their children. This is when the society should come in and say, you know, let's work with this, because this is still a child.
You know, there's something you've said, and I would really want you to emphasize on it, whereby you said, for you, using your own personal experience, you didn't even know that was sex. And I feel that goes back to what you were saying, the education element.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yes.
Because most people are like, huh? What do you mean you didn't know?
Yeah.
But it's not just you, it's so many children out there. Yeah. So what emphasis would you put, especially for parents, and not even just parents, even big sisters, uncles, aunties, just to educate these young ones?
Yes. Practically talk about it. Talk about what it means. Actually even explain the act. You know, sometimes we talk about sex, we assume that they'll find out from wherever.
And they find out from all the wrong sources.
All the wrong sources. And especially now in this era of social media, thank God my time, we still didn't have a lot of information.
And the internet.
And we didn't have as much internet. But right now they have internet, they have everything. Talk about the act. What does it mean? What are the consequences? What doing this thing, what could it lead to? Because sometimes girls think, or teenagers think, that having sex for the first time, you won't get pregnant. Or having it for 5 minutes, you won't get pregnant.
Or maybe after your period. You know, there are all these theories out there.
Exactly. Like literally being able to talk to them about, this is how your body works as a boy, and this is how your body works as a girl. And if this happens, these are the possible results. And walking them through them and allowing them to ask you questions, and then allow them to process it, give them time, process it, you know, follow up, you know, did you feel like you fully understood? And yeah, so that they're fully informed, so that they make informed choices.
Okay, and you know, we've focused on the girls a bit, because the girls, obviously, the periods are a very key fact. They're very key rite of passage. But also for the boys. And I've done a show in my show, Real Talk, whereby, I kid you not, a young man sat in the audience. And just like what we're talking about, he said that his first time, he made a girl pregnant. And it shocked him, because he didn't know he can make a girl pregnant.
I know!
And I was like, what? And this is a full-grown young man. And he was just being very honest. Like, truly, I did not know I can make a girl pregnant. So what do boys need to understand about also their biology? And, of course, their role in procreation.
Going back again to the same conversation of education, education, education. Information. Overload the child with information. Allow them to know everything that they need to know about their bodies, about what is happening, the development that is happening, about what they're able to do at what point, so that they're not acting ignorantly. They're not living out, you know, they're not just living, but they are living well informed. They know what their bodies are, what they can able to do. They know if you do this, this happens. They're aware, because that's why we lack. We depend on biology in class, in school to teach our children, but really have that candid conversation.
Okay, so I'm here with Wahu, and in our Change Maker segment this morning, we are talking about teenage pregnancies. Is this something that you have dealt with in your family? Do you have any advice or any message of hope for perhaps a girl or a young man who might be dealing with this right now? As a parent, do you have any questions? Is there something that you wish other parents perhaps would know? Get on that SMS line, 111 444 111. When we come back, I'm going to be taking your questions, so keep them coming. But right now, it's time for a quick break. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Full Circle. So our conversation continues. Earlier on, we were talking about, teenage pregnancy with a change maker, Wahoo Wanjiko. So Wahoo, when it comes to now, once we're on the other side, unfortunately, when, a girl or a family is dealing with a teenage pregnancy, what would you say is the best way for the parents to handle it?
As I mentioned earlier, this is the most vulnerable the teenage has ever been. I mean, they've never imagined they would be here. And so I think for every parent, every loving parent, the default should be to support your teenager. This is when they need you more than any other time in their lives. Yes, they know they have messed up. I mean, before you even tell them, they already know they're messed up and they know that what they have done is wrong and they're feeling the remorse. What they require from you right now is just to support them and to be able to walk with them the journey for what is the next step. Okay, if they were in school, because many teenagers, you're in high school, in Form 1, Form 2, or whatever, let's talk about, okay, what does that mean? I mean, do you like stop schooling for now until you get the baby? How do you resume back your studies? And the parents need to talk about how do we support you to ensure that you go back to your education so that the child doesn't feel like, now that I have this pregnancy,
my life
is over. And that is how they end up committing suicide or doing ridiculous things, that the family really offers support. And I would say the society at large.
You've said loving parent.
Yes.
And I really want us to approach this very steadily.
Yes.
Because I want to say it's okay for any loving parent to be disappointed.
Yes.
And a lot of the time, that is what we see, whereby
Yes.
a parent is disappointed,
Yes.
angry. In so many cases, the girl will even be told, toka kwa hii nyumba, atafukuzwa nyumbani.
Absolutely.
But I want to emphasize loving parent, because at some point, once they've had time to process the disappointment and
Yes.
the anger, they go back to being loving parents.
Yes.
And now they understand, I must be here for this child.
Yes.
And especially women. You've said a very important point around education.
Yes.
Why must mothers especially be the front runner campaigners to make sure that their daughters continue their education?
Absolutely. You say, of course the parent is disappointed, but I feel like as a parent, we must remember that you're a parent. And a parent's primary role is actually to be a guide for your children. So get disappointed, of course, it's normal, but get over the disappointed and begin to know that your role is to guide that child. That whatever way you guide them at this point will determine their future. So sometimes we mellow and wallow in the disappointment a bit too long, so that by the time you're coming back to thinking, okay, this is my child, I need to guide them, you've already sort of lost them.
The damage is done.
The damage is done. They've already made decisions that they would otherwise not make, or some are forced into marriages that they weren't ready for, and that is how we're beginning to see domestic violence come up. We're beginning to see other things coming up as a result of these forced marriages, that because I got pregnant, so that boy had to take me in and all that. I think for parents, you need to process in advance that if this happens to me, how will I even react? And begin to see the possibilities, because it can happen to you, and guide the child.
So we've spoken about now once the child is here, and unfortunately we live in a society with so many complexities.
Yes.
And I'm sure that's part of the work that you're doing. So how can people step in perhaps to assist the more vulnerable girls in the community through your program?
Yes. For the more vulnerable one, the society should see this as our children, that it's not that family's child, it's not that family's daughter, but these are our children. And corporately, because a lot of people who actually condemn are the community you live around, it's a church, maybe community where you go to, it's the school they used to go to, that corporately, as a community, we can decide to be able to support our children. For example, for us now, for those girls in the very vulnerable situations, we take them on in a program that is supported by some who are able to, and we are able to work with them the journey for, okay, this has happened. What do you require? Because some don't even have clinic, whatever, they can't access the money to do that. And then we're able to say, okay, how can we partner with you to ensure that you're getting the care that is required during this season. We are able to talk to the schools and say, okay, this happened to this girl, but can you allow her to come back to school next year? And just be the intermediary person. Be the person that says, this family is disillusioned and they don't know what to do, but I can walk alongside them and help them through this process. And so the mentorship program is really, we invite girls, or even for parents who can't have that conversation. You're too disappointed. You're like, I don't know what to do. We say, take them to someone who can.
Yeah.
Someone who can walk that journey that you can do. And that is now what I do. I'm able to step into the space where parents cannot, and be able to now literally go down and find out from the girl, what do we do to ensure that we get you on the other side okay.
Okay, I know we're really pressed for time, but
Yes.
I really have to take this one.
Okay.
There's someone here saying, I'm Lois from Taveta. I have a cousin who confesses to have done 11 abortions, and she's still a teenager. Are the parents to blame here?
I can't say they are exactly to blame.
Starts with that girl.
It starts with that girl, but maybe it is possible that the parents have not had any conversation. 11 is a bit too, it's dangerously too much, you know. It means first the girl gets pregnant, so it means she continues to have sex even after that.
So it's a choice.
It's a choice.
Beyond the first abortion, it becomes a choice now.
And again, she knows that she has an option to terminate.
Yeah.
So you can't say you can blame it on the parents, but also it's possible that the girl, the situations around her or the environment around her is, you know, places her in a place where she is exposed maybe to sexual relationships and she does not know what else to do other than terminate.
Okay, thank you so much for that. So obviously this is a very wide topic, but that's all the time that we have for it this morning. And obviously we'd love to have you on the show as well.
Absolutely. I'd
probably
love to come
sometime
back.
next week, because this is a huge one.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes, and you can never say enough.
Yep.
So on that note, I want to thank you. And of course, right now we have a small music break. But when we come back, we're going to be talking about men and why right now in this country there is an outcry that men are not fulfilling their parental responsibilities. Don't go too far. We'll be right back.
The day I first met you.